Hey, True Seekers, it's Nathaniel Carolyn here to do a deck profile for a Simon, Universal, and Holy Spirit deck.
Yep. So this is a deck that Nathaniel built and I tweaked. And we're starting off with our power cards. We run 4 Holy Spirit and we run 3 Fasting. The Fasting is extremely helpful for our Universal costs, but also it does give us that Holy Spirit if we need it, especially early on in the game. We are using Simon in this deck specifically because this deck has a lot of just a lot of growth stages. And so I like being able to find those smaller growth stages because obviously we can't use Sadie in this deck. So using him is pretty great. So beginning with our only card that is not a Holy Spirit or Universal, we are using Servitude. Servitude allows us to draw cards, which is really helpful in this deck. He's also a really helpful utility card when using Paul's Chains or something like that to just keep in your small group. We are moving on to Quillo level 1. Quillo level 1 is awesome, and we will be using Quillo level... No, we don't use Quillo level 2 in this deck. That's right. This is just our small 1/4 that we keep in here. Forgot about that. We have 3 Mercifier. He is extremely helpful. Not only is he a 2 for 7, he is also something that can go get us a different Animo if we need it, which is extremely helpful as long as the victory points are 7 or less. In that same vein, we run 3 Prayer Group. Prayer Group is phenomenal. I love using this card because you get to have 3 points times the power cards you use to activate him, up to 6 power cards. So you can use all 3 of your fasting cards and still have 3 other power cards to use for something else if necessary.
So become a 3 for 18.
Yeah. Our big boys for the deck. We run Alpha Lux Ultra. He is beautiful. He is big. He is our only Ultras in this deck because you can only have a mixture of 3 Ultras and Megas. And we run 3 Ultras. We do not run any Megas in this deck. And I specifically chose him because when this card is activated, any Animo also activated in the same turn gets 2 victory points added to it. So automatically, if you're using anything else, this basically becomes a 12, and then you get other cards. 3 for 10 isn't bad, especially using fasting.
Right.
And finally, we have Floraline. Floraline is our level 1, and this brings us to our Holy Spirit cards. I'm specifically using the Cross Trainers level 2 Floraline, specifically for the ability. If you're facing a Cine, this card has no activation cost. So 2 for 4, meh. Free for 8, awesome. And especially since there are a lot of Cines out there, this is really helpful. We have 2 Fuzzworm, level 1, and 2 Fuzzworm level 2. We specifically want to see these. It's a 1 for 2, which isn't that great. I mean, if you're putting it out with something else, it's not terrible. But specifically for Fuzzworm level 2 and the ability more than anything. You may choose to discard an equipment card that is attached to this card. If you do, you may draw 4 cards. That extra draw power is awesome. You can also attach your Paul's Chains to this and use Paul's Chains, then go use this ability. You can just be drawing a lot of cards each turn. Moving on, we have Guppies. We have 2 level 1 and 2 level 2. Guppies is a really great card this set because of the level 2. When this card is played from your hand, to grow Guppies level 1, you may reshuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. That extra card is just awesome. And then we have Nico. We have our level 1s. We have our level 2s. And we have our level 3s. So our level 3 allows us to search your discard pile for the next growth stage of any Animo in your small group, and you may instantly grow those Animo. Extremely helpful because this is also plural.
Yes.
And so you can do this if you have 3 level 1s that have a level 2 that are in your deck.
No discard.
Discard pile. Sorry.
Yes.
Not deck. Discard pile. You automatically get to grow all of them because Animo is plural as well as singular. So Nico is a great card to run in this deck. Moving on to our equipment cards, we have 1 Paul's Chains. This is going to allow you to go grab your level 1s. So you could use this. If you have this in your deck, in your small group, go use this, get some level 1s in there, go grab this, finish out your thing. It's a great, strong card. Specifically, this one is, the idea is to attach it to this guy and just have him sit there. We run several equipment cards in this deck because of Fuzzworm, level 2. This is one of the ones that we use. This one also allows you to see if you have a power card that you can put into your power pool from your deck. Not the greatest of equipment cards, but it is very helpful when attaching to Fuzzworm. So, because you can use it and then discard it with Fuzzworm's ability. We have a Myrrh. Myrrh is extremely helpful in this deck because all of your Holy Spirits have 1 specific Holy Spirit cost and then the rest is universal. So this just removes that cost, and so you can use universal for your Holy Spirit. We have 2 Sword of the Spirit. These specifically attach to a Holy Spirit Animo, and it allows it to gain 3 virtue points. So if I wanted to use my Fuzzworm level 1, it'd now be a 1 for 5.
And if you activate it with Alpha Ultra, it's a 1 for 7.
It's even better. And then we have 2 Broken Jars. Broken Jar is a really great card to attach to things like Alpha Lux Ultra if you're using fasting to pay for him. He gets an extra 5. You can put this on prayer group as well. It's a really nice card to put on anything universal specifically, but you can put it on anything. So moving on to story cards, we have Ascension, which allows us to skip growth stage. So I could use my Simon. Let's say I pull my Nico level 3, use Simon to go get Nico level 2, use Ascension to actually just put those down. I don't have to have my Nico level 1. We have Fishing Nets, which allows us to draw 2 cards or 4 cards, depending on if it was the last card in your hand or not. Copper Coins allows us to look at the top 7 cards of our deck, place up to 2 power cards that you find there directly into your power pool, which is great in this deck because there's not a lot of power search in this deck. We have the Runaway. Select any Animo from your discard pile and return it to your hand. This is super helpful with your Ultras and or your prayer groups. We have Hidden Treasure. Place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. If you do, you get to draw 3 cards. So this is very helpful if you have, let's say you drew 2 Cinnies or more than that, or you draw cards that you can't use in that specific turn, but you don't want to discard, but you still want to be able to draw other cards. This, you just put it on the bottom of your deck. You work from there, you draw your 3 extra cards, you go from there, and you have that card back in your deck. Bible Study Holy Spirit. This one allows you to search for any 1 Holy Spirit Animo. So because this one runs a lot of Holy Spirit, especially growth stages, this will help you connect with that. So you could go draw your level 2 and then use Simon, and you'd be able to get 2 of them if you wanted your Fuzzworm or whatever. Because of draw power, we want to use the Rich Fool. Draw the bottom 3 cards of your deck. And finally, we have Sandcastle. This one allows to search for an Ultra or Mega. Since there are no Megas, this one's searching for our Alpha Lux Ultra over here. Beginning our Cinnies, we have Flipper, the smallest and equally the largest Cinny. This Cinny is just going to be run in like every deck from now on. You're going to see a lot of this guy. We have Judgeweed. Judgeweed is pretty cool. As long as this Cinny is active, your opponent may not reveal any Cinnies. This is also extremely frustrating when you're working against it. Similarly, we have Zapper King. Zapper King says your opponent may not play any level 1 Animo from their hand into their small group on their next turn. This can absolutely stop any game dead in its tracks. Except for Sadie.
Yep.
We have Grump Roast. Grump Roast says as long as the Cinny remains active, your opponent may not have any more than 3 Animo in their small group at a time. If there are more than 3 Animo in your opponent's small group when this card is revealed, they must discard down to 3. We have Bubble. As long as this card remains active, your opponent may have no more than one Animo of the same name in their small group, regardless of level. So if I had my Nico and then I wanted to have a second line of Nico, I can't do that. Globster. As long as the city remains active, your opponent must discard the top card of their deck as soon as their turn begins before drawing cards. So if they were able to stack their deck at the previous turn, they have to just discard that top one, and it's super frustrating. And then our pseudo mega for the deck is Grumble. He is really big, and that is very helpful in this deck because I don't have a big cine for them to go against. So Grumble replaces that mega so I can have those 3 Alpha Lux Ultras. So that is our Simon, Holy Spirit, and
Universal deck.
deck.
So in the meantime, Truth Seekers, keep playing virtues and defeating cities.